If you've been on the fence about coaching or wondering if it can help you, be sure to listen to the end of this episode where I have a special promotion around the next phase of the coaching certification that I'm doing that may be of interest to you. Do you know what you want? That's the topic for today. Came across this recently in my own work that I'm doing with a coach. And we were trying to get to the bottom of a somewhat convoluted topic. And after basically stopping me from sharing more and more details, my coach encouraged me, well, she kind of recentered things by saying, so what do you really want? And it was at that moment that I realized that while I thought that I was really clear on what I wanted, I really wasn't. I'd encourage you to ask that question of yourself if you're struggling in a particular situation, trying to make a particular decision, or if there's some improvement in your life that you want. Are you really, really clear on exactly what it is? And like any good coaching relationship, I came up with my own homework. I came up with exactly what I was going to do to get clarity on this. And it was through free writing. I don't know if you've ever done any free writing, but I find that it is often very clarifying. There's actually a genre of books on free writing, and I wish I could remember the name of it, but I can't right now. If I do, I'll put it in the notes. So the homework assignment that came out of not being really clear on what I wanted was to do some daily writing on it, free writing. I don't know if you ever tried free writing. I find it to be extremely helpful, sometimes therapeutic. Often, even like writing in a journal is free writing. But during the time I spent in marketing, writing copy and writing other things, often just writing randomly on a topic, the magic would eventually creep in and, away the piece would go. So what I committed to do was to write for 15 minutes every day before noon. All I had to do, the only rules were I had to sit in the chair that I was in for 15 minutes and I was either writing or I was doing nothing. Now, the reason that I said that it had to be done before noon each day is that I have found that over time, maybe it's getting older, the more time that goes on in the day, the less creativity and the less clarity and the less ability I have to really make things happen. So I wanted to make sure that my best energy went towards this work, and knowing that my best energy is always in the mornings and kind of disappears as things head into the afternoon, I wanted to make sure that I was putting my best energy forward. So I made that part of my committed homework, which again was to do it before lunchtime. That also made sure that it really got done. This was a fascinating exercise. I think I did it over a series of 5 or 6 days in a row. And each day I would often start to write the same thing, but eventually the path of whatever I was writing on would diverge. And it was amazing too how much stuff I could write in 15 minutes and how much better I felt at the end of each writing session. So over these 5 or 6 days, there was some definite clarity and some definite themes that came through each of the days of writing. The first few days were this was very interesting, especially if you listen to my recent episode about ownership. My coach noted that a lot of my earlier entries were very focused on other people, and that as the days went by, things kind of seemed to settle and to get more peaceful and more focused. Also, I think it was one of the last entries I did, I simply listed a bunch of words that represented what I wanted around this particular topic. Another exercise that complements this approach to getting to the bottom of what you want is to ask why. Now, if you listen to the episode on ownership and QBQ, in that context, why is not a great question. I think it can be a helpful question, though, in this context. So if you get to if you start to zero in on what you want, sometimes to get to those lower levels, it's great to ask why. So I want a promotion. How come? Well, so that I will make more money. Why is that? So that I will be more comfortable. Why is being comfortable important? And then just continuing to ask those questions, sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 times. There's a name for this technique, and the name of it fails me, but there's actually a Wikipedia page on it. I've seen it. It was also mentioned in another book I read a long time ago that was incredibly helpful, called Getting Things Done When You're Not in Charge. That book is by Jeffrey Bellman. I highly recommend that book. I came across that book, probably 10 years ago when I was, I think I was Googling Getting Things Done and ended up there somehow at the library. Never heard about the book anywhere else, but that exercise was in that book. The book was also really useful from a project management standpoint, in that it focused a lot on how do you get things done? How do you move things forward when you are not exactly in charge? There are probably some leadership principles in there as well that I wasn't aware of at the time that link nicely back to Extreme Ownership, a book that I also talked about on the podcast about ownership, and the other book I just mentioned, QBQ. So I recommend trying that. If you're not clear on what you want for, maybe it's your career, a particular problem you're trying to solve, what you want from a particular relationship, a particular project, maybe it's even a meeting that you're running. Getting really clear on what you want can go a really long way towards putting your energy behind the things that will actually get you what you want. But you got to be really clear on what you want. And at least from my own experience, it's not always as clear as it seems. So this month, my coaching certification program ramps up, and I must have a certain number of paying clients to remain in the program. I have every intention of remaining in the program and getting the most out of it, which probably comes as no surprise if you've listened to me or followed me for any period of time. In order to meet that number, I'm deeply discounting my rates to make sure that I meet the number of required clients and get as many hours as possible to get the most out of this program. To find out more about what this means, send an email to podcast@johnpolster.com or go to my website, johnpolster.com/coaching, and sign up for a free mini session. A mini session is approximately 30 minutes of you and me on the phone talking about an area or problem in your life that you would like to move forward. During that time, we'll come up with some new ideas and ways on how to do that, and you'll also get to experience firsthand a little bit of kind of a taste of what coaching looks like with me. After that point, there's no obligation. I'll only follow up with you if you want me to, and we'll just kind of leave things there. There's no obligation or anything after that. If you want to learn more about what the discounts that I'm offering in conjunction with my certification program are, I can share those at that time as well. And if not, we'll just leave things there. Thanks for listening to The John Polster Show. Notes, links, and all that other good stuff for this episode are at johnpolster.com/podcast. If you have questions or ideas around the podcast, send those to podcast@johnpolster.com.